Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Cruz and welcome back to another video. In this one we're going to quickly discuss how I use the Mackie Big Knob. You guys know the deal. Please do all of the things that help this channel grow. Like this video, comment and subscribe below, and hit the bell icon so you get an alert every single time I upload a video. And of course, if you are interested in donating to the channel, please see the donation link in the description box below. Without further ado, let's get started. This has always been a product that we saw, especially back in the day when it first came on the market, and we were envious of it, right? It was a great monitoring system, especially if you were the kind of, engineer or maybe mixing engineer or mastering engineer that really wanted to have a multitude of speakers, or at least a few different speakers set up so that you can choose from in terms of being able to reference your tracks using various speakers. And so my studio setup never really felt complete unless I actually had this thing in my studio, and I bit the bullet and got one for my studio. Now I will say this, there are much newer versions out there that recently came out in the last few years that do a lot more than this version does. This is like one of the original versions. The newer versions are really great. So if you're looking for a kind of a tutorial on that or whatever, I highly suggest you keep searching the internet and keep searching YouTube for that. But I'm sure they're great. The new ones are incorporating interfaces now. I think 2-channel, and then there's like a Studio Plus or something like that. And then they came out with a passive version, which is essentially just the big knob. But I went for the old school version because I've always loved it, I've always had it, I've always enjoyed using it, and I was just familiar with it. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really interested in using it as an interface as much as I was interested in just using it here in my studio to make it feel like a more complete setup while I was editing both music and videos. So the big knob is a studio command system. In a nutshell, it's a glorified volume knob, and it allows you to utilize various speakers. Now in my studio right now, I only have my main speakers set up, which are my Yamaha HS5s, but it's really simple to just put in at least 2 more different monitor setups. You can switch between each monitor use or even incorporate all 3 of them. You have an A, a B, and a C switch. You can have them either all on if you're into that kind of stuff, or you can compare them each individually. It's really great too if you have a subwoofer that you don't want to mix with, but you do want to feel it when you're hearing it back, and then you can maybe put a subwoofer in one of those slots and therefore get that big bottom end when you want it, but then take it out when you don't necessarily want it. It's also a really good idea for a setup like what I have. Those of you who follow my channel, you may know this. This side of the studio is actually the studio, but the side behind the camera is my barber suite. I'm actually a barber, and so oftentimes I will use this rig to play music in the background while I'm cutting hair, sometimes even put videos on. And it's a little bit overkill sometimes to use my Yamaha HS5s as my monitoring for that particular situation. So maybe if I had like a more suitable, more lower key setup, and maybe incorporate a subwoofer to get a little bottom end for the listening experience, I could then switch over to those as opposed to using and beating to death my HS5s just listening to music while I cut hair. So it's a really convenient tool. That's not all it does. It actually has inputs and outputs, so you can essentially expand your DAW inputs. Now keep in mind, anything that you expand with, it's not going to be a digital expansion. So that means if you utilize these 2 DAW inputs and go into your DAW, your 1 channel, you're not going to be able to mix or separate the 2 channels that you use from here, if you get my drift. So you got to be careful with that. You're basically committing to a certain mix or a certain sound, but it can give you something extra. You can add an extra sound or an extra channel essentially if you really want to do that. If you're interested in getting more channels or finding an interface that could work for you that incorporates the big knob, then I would highly recommend checking out the newer versions of the big knob, which incorporate their interface as I mentioned in the beginning of this video. It's got really cool listening features. So for example, the big knob is super smooth. Anyone who's ever used the big knob knows that it's an addictive feeling to just want to constantly put the volume up and down. It's super smooth. It's not tactile or like clicky. It's just way smooth. It's really easy to kind of go haywire with it, but it's got a nice slow taper so that in the event that maybe you do slip, it's not going to be like you're going to blow your speakers out. It's got a great taper to it. It's really, really nice and smooth. I love it. The features right under the big knob are mono. That means you can go from listening to a split left and right stereo setup and just direct it right down the middle and hear it mono. It's got a mute switch, so if you just want to turn everything off really quickly, you rest your ears, or maybe even just talk to someone, then you can just turn everything off. And then it's got a dim switch, which is actually really created to talk to people. So like if you're in the room listening back but you want to say something, you can press the dim and it automatically lowers it by a certain amount of dBs, so you could say it without blowing your voice out and trying to speak over the loud music. Really, really thoughtful. Not to mention it's got a built-in mic in it, so you can use it as a talkback. So especially if you're utilizing the two headphone outputs and you maybe have someone in a different room and you want to be able to talk to them, you can direct that mic to hit their headphones and you can control how loud your voice is. It's just really convenient to be able to talk to someone in a different room, and it kind of just expands your recording ability and experience. And the subject of headphones, it has two headphone outputs, which is really, really great, because with my particular DAW, I only have one, so I essentially add two more headphones. Now, this is a really small studio space, and I don't record a ton of people, but if I needed to, it's great to know that I have three headphone outputs now that I can utilize and make the recording experience just that much better. Now, one of the things that seems a little minor, but I absolutely love it, is actually having an onboard meter. A lot of times when I'm mixing something, I'll actually put a meter on the screen because my interface doesn't have a meter, so I don't see that green and going into red or yellow sometimes, right? So I'm constantly checking out the meter on the screen. So it's really cool to have that here, and it gives me a good interpretation of how loud everything is. And that way, if you're a visual person, you can maybe mix based on the volume that the meter's showing you and what you're hearing with your ears. But I've always liked having a physical meter in front of me. I think it just makes the experience, I don't know, just it feels like I can be a little more accurate with it because I could see it visually as well as hear it. Now, this thing does a lot more that I don't use it for, but it's just great to have it here in my studio. I just talked about the Shuttle Express, how I'm using that now, and it's just right at my fingertips as I'm editing. Now the big knob is right here as well, so I can easily bring up the volume, bring it down. If it's super late at night, it's so convenient now that I have my headphone mix right here as opposed to my interface, which is actually tucked away right now. So it's just really nice to have all of this up front. It looks professional, it looks cool. It is a bit oversized, but the newer versions, like I said, if you're interested in that, are much more smaller and sleeker, and so they fit on your desk a little bit better. But even right now, even though my desk is pretty much packed to the brim and cluttered, I still find myself really enjoying the experience. And guys, don't worry, I actually still have room for coffee right here at my desk, as you can see. I know I've been talking about like tech and desk stuff a lot in this channel recently, but it's just because it's stuff that I'm really into. But most of all, I'm really into just expanding your ability to work easier, your workflow. I'm really into finding pieces of gear that just makes life easier for me as a whole, whether it's editing, music, videos, whether it's just even just sitting here enjoying the experience, or even just as I'm cutting hair in this very same room, you know, just being able to work really quickly and not touch so much with hair on my hands. You know what I mean? Having the big knob there is really easy, just to really with one little finger be able to move that dial, bring it up, bring it down, or with one button just cut the music or dim it down a little bit. It's just super helpful. And if you remember when the big knob came out, it was so attractive looking. It was one of those pieces of gear that just, I don't know, I gravitated towards, like, what is that? It was like this very spaceship-esque type of equipment that was sitting on a studio desk, and I just wanted to know what it was. I just wanted to turn the knob. Look how smooth this taper is, guys. It's amazing. That's super smooth. Check out the mute knob. Really quickly, we can mute it, bring it back. This is the dim knob, so as you can see, it brings everything down so that you could easily talk over the music, but you could bring the music right back up by just pressing one button. And smoothly turn everything off at your convenience. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you are interested in purchasing a big knob, I actually am going to put a couple of affiliate links in the description box below. Keep in mind, it is an affiliate link, so that means that if you purchase from that link, or at least click on the link to get you started to finding something that will be a little more convenient for you, it may put a little something back into this channel, which is helpful at the end of the day. So be sure to check out my affiliate links. I also have a ton of other products that I use here on a daily basis, all the way from this product to the shuttle like I talked about in a few videos ago, or even the HX Stomp. Check it out all in the description box below. Your help is definitely appreciated. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do all of the things that help this channel grow. Like this video, comment and subscribe below, hit the bell icon so you get an alert every single time I upload a video. And don't forget, if you are interested in donating directly to this channel, there's a donation link in the description box below as well. Thanks again for watching, and until next time.